Power doesn't change people overnight. It changes them slowly, quietly, until one day you look at them and realize the person you knew is already gone. Season 5 of Raising Kanan is not about becoming dangerous anymore. It's about what happens after you already are. The world of Raising Kanan has always moved at a slower, heavier pace than the rest of the Power universe, and that is what makes it hit harder. Every choice lingers, every mistake leaves a mark. As Season 5 begins, the story stands at a moment where the past is no longer something the characters can run from. Everything that was planted in earlier seasons has grown into something wild and uncontrollable. The streets are no longer just a place to survive. They are a place where history comes back to collect its debt. The calm moments feel dangerous, and the silence feels louder than gunshots. This season opens with the feeling that something bad is already in motion, and no one has the power to stop it. Kanan is no longer standing at the edge of the life he once feared. He is already inside it. The hesitation that used to slow him down is fading, replaced by a quiet understanding of how the game works. Season 5 doesn't treat this as a shocking change. Instead, it presents it as something that was always going to happen. The promo makes it clear that Kanan isn't asking who he wants to be anymore. He is learning how to live with who he already is. His eyes don't look for approval. His actions don't look for excuses. This is the moment where survival turns into purpose, and purpose turns into identity. At the same time, the story reminds us that power always comes with weight. The people who seem strongest are often the most alone. Trust is thin, loyalty feels unsafe, and every relationship carries hidden tension. The streets of Harlem don't feel like a home anymore. They feel like a test that never ends. Friends look at each other differently. Family bonds feel strained by secrets that can't stay buried. The season begins by showing us that no one is standing on solid ground. Everyone is adjusting, watching, and waiting for the next move that could change everything. Season 5 sets its tone early by making one thing clear. This is not a story about winning. It's a story about lasting long enough to see the cost of your choices. The promo doesn't promise glory or success. It promises pressure, consequences, and moments where silence speaks louder than words. The world feels tighter, darker, and more serious than ever before. This opening chapter doesn't rush. It breathes, it waits, and it lets the tension build. Because it knows the truth that has always lived at the heart of Raising Kanan. Once you step fully into power, there is no clean way out. Kanan's journey in Season 5 is not about learning the rules anymore. He already knows them. What makes this part of the story different is that he no longer questions whether the rules are right or wrong. He accepts them as facts of life. The promo shows a version of Kanan who moves with more confidence and less emotion. His silence feels intentional, not confused. He listens more than he speaks, and when he does act, it feels planned. This is the season where Kanan stops reacting to the world around him and starts shaping it in his own way. The softness that once showed up in small moments is slowly disappearing, replaced by a cold focus that feels permanent. What makes this transformation powerful is that it doesn't happen through one big event. It happens through repetition, loss after loss, lie after lie. Season 5 presents Kanan as someone who has seen enough to stop expecting fairness. He understands that caring too much makes you weak, and trusting the wrong person can get you killed. The promo hints that Kanan has learned this lesson deeply. His choices are no longer guided by fear or curiosity, but by instinct. He doesn't hesitate when things turn violent. He doesn't look surprised when people betray him. This is not innocence being stolen. This is innocence being willingly buried. There is also a growing distance between Kanan and the people who once tried to protect him. Conversations feel shorter. Eye contact feels heavier. The emotional gap keeps growing, even when they stand close to each other. Season 5 uses this distance to show how power isolates people. Kanan doesn't push others away loudly. He simply stops needing them the way he once did. The promo makes it clear that he is becoming comfortable with being alone, and that comfort is dangerous. When someone no longer fears loneliness, they also stop fearing consequences. Most importantly, this season shows Kanan accepting violence as part of who he is, not something he uses only when necessary. Violence becomes a language, a way to communicate strength and control. The promo frames this shift quietly, without celebration. There is no excitement in his actions, only certainty. That calm is what makes it unsettling. Season 5 positions Kanan closer than ever to the man we already know he will become, not because he wants to impress anyone, but because he believes this is the only version of himself that can survive the world he lives in. Rack enters Season 5 carrying the weight of everything she built and everything she destroyed to build it. The promo presents her not as a woman rising, but as a woman holding her ground while the floor slowly breaks beneath her. She still has power, still commands respect. But the confidence she once carried so easily now feels forced. Every move looks careful. Every decision feels heavy. Season 5 makes it clear that Rack's biggest threat is no longer her enemies on the street, but the pressure of keeping control while the world around her shifts in ways she can't fully predict. What makes Rack's position more dangerous is that she can no longer see every angle like she used to. The game has grown larger, and the players have grown smarter. Allies question her choices. Rivals test her limits, and law enforcement moves closer with patience instead of panic. The promo hints that Rack is fighting battles on multiple fronts at the same time, and none of them allow room for mistakes. Power used to protect her. Now it exposes her. The higher she stands, the more visible she becomes, and Season 5 leans into that tension without offering her an easy escape. At the heart of Rack's struggle is her relationship with Kanan, and this season refuses to soften the conflict. The distance between them feels emotional, not physical. She sees the change in him, even if she won't fully admit her role in it. The promo suggests that Rack understands she created something she can no longer control. Her instincts as a mother clash with her instincts as a leader, and neither side is winning. Season 5 places her in a painful position where protecting her son may require giving up the very power that once kept him safe. Rack's isolation becomes one of the strongest themes moving forward. She is surrounded by people, yet truly alone. Trust feels impossible, and vulnerability feels like weakness she cannot afford. The promo shows her standing firm, but the silence around her speaks volumes. Season 5 is not about Rack losing power all at once. It's about watching her slowly realize that every move forward costs her something she can never get back. Control, family, safety, or peace. The empire she built still stands. But the cracks are no longer hidden, and this season dares to ask how long she can hold everything together before it finally collapses. Family has always been the center of power in raising Kanan, but Season 5 makes it clear that family is no longer a shield. It is a weakness. The promo shows relationships that once felt unbreakable now stretched thin by fear, secrets, and survival. Blood ties still exist, but trust does not come with them anymore. Every conversation feels careful, as if one wrong word could turn love into betrayal. This season doesn't treat family as something warm or safe. It treats it as something complicated, heavy, and dangerous. People stay close not because they feel secure, but because walking away feels even more risky. Marvin and Lulu stand at a breaking point where loyalty starts to feel like a burden instead of a duty. The promo hints that both men are tired in different ways. Marvin tries to hold things together, but his past mistakes refuse to stay buried. He wants stability, but the life he chose doesn't allow it. Lulu, on the other hand, looks trapped between who he wanted to be and who the streets keep forcing him to become. Season 5 shows how loyalty to family keeps pulling him back into a world he no longer believes in. The more he resists, the deeper he sinks. Family love becomes a chain instead of an anchor. What makes the tension worse is that survival now demands hard choices, and those choices rarely respect family bonds. The promo suggests that protecting yourself may require sacrificing someone close to you. This is where Season 5 becomes especially cruel. Characters are no longer asking who they love the most. They are asking who they can afford to lose. Silence replaces honesty. Distance replaces comfort. Even moments that should feel emotional carry an edge of danger, because everyone understands that information can be more deadly than bullets. Family dinners feel like negotiations. Private talks feel like traps. Season 5 pushes the idea that loyalty is no longer about standing together. It's about knowing when to step aside. The promo shows a world where staying loyal can get you killed just as fast as betrayal can. Characters begin to protect themselves first, even when it hurts the people they care about most. This shift changes everything. Family no longer moves as one unit. It fractures into individuals trying to survive the same storm in different ways. By the time this season unfolds, the question is no longer whether family will break, but how much damage will be done before anyone. The streets in Season 5 no longer feel familiar, even to the people who once ruled them. The promo makes it clear that the balance of power has shifted, and the old rules no longer protect anyone. New faces move with confidence, testing limits and pushing boundaries, while old players struggle to keep their grip. Nothing feels stable. Every corner carries risk, and every deal feels temporary. The streets aren't waiting for permission anymore. They're changing on their own, forcing everyone to adapt or disappear. Season 5 treats the streets as a living force that doesn't care who you are or what you've built. Law enforcement also plays a different game this time. Instead of loud raids and fast moves, the pressure comes quietly. The promo hints at patience, long-term plans, and slow traps that tighten over time. This kind of threat is harder to fight because you don't always see it coming. People start watching their words, second-guessing their allies, and questioning every move they make. Fear doesn't arrive in chaos. It arrives in silence. Season 5 shows how this constant pressure wears people down, pushing them to make mistakes just to breathe for a moment. The streets become a place where stress never fades, even when nothing is happening. What makes this shift dangerous is that violence becomes less emotional and more strategic. Acts that once came from anger now come from planning. The promo suggests that survival requires thinking several steps ahead, and hesitation can be deadly. The streets reward those who move first and punish those who wait too long. This creates a world where trust disappears fast, and paranoia becomes normal. People stop asking if someone is dangerous. They assume everyone is. Season 5 shows how this mindset changes behavior, turning everyday moments into potential threats. As the streets evolve, they begin to reflect the characters themselves, harder, colder, and less forgiving. The promo doesn't glamorize this world. It exposes how empty power feels when it's built on constant fear. There is no peace, only brief pauses between conflicts. Season 5 presents the streets as a test that never ends, where every decision adds pressure and every mistake leaves scars. In this environment, survival isn't about strength alone. It's about knowing when to move, when to hide, and when to accept that the streets will always demand more than they give back. The streets in Season 5 no longer feel familiar, even to the people who once ruled them. The promo makes it clear that the balance of power has shifted, and the old rules no longer protect anyone. New faces move with confidence, testing limits and pushing boundaries, while old players struggle to keep their grip. Nothing feels stable. Every corner carries risk, and every deal feels temporary. The streets aren't waiting for permission anymore. They're changing on their own, forcing everyone to adapt or disappear. Season 5 treats the streets as a living force that doesn't care who you are or what you've built. Law enforcement also plays a different game this time. Instead of loud raids and fast moves, the pressure comes quietly. The promo hints at patience, long-term plans, and slow traps that tighten over time. This kind of threat is harder to fight because you don't always see it coming. People start watching their words, second-guessing their allies, and questioning every move they make. Fear doesn't arrive in chaos. It arrives in silence. Season 5 shows how this constant pressure wears people down, pushing them to make mistakes just to breathe for a moment. The streets become a place where stress never fades, even when nothing is happening. What makes this shift dangerous is that violence becomes less emotional and more strategic. Acts that once came from anger now come from planning. The promo suggests that survival requires thinking several steps ahead, and hesitation can be deadly. The streets reward those who move first and punish those who wait too long. This creates a world where trust disappears fast, and paranoia becomes normal. People stop asking if someone is dangerous. They assume everyone is. Season 5 shows how this mindset changes behavior, turning everyday moments into potential threats. As the streets evolve, they begin to reflect the characters themselves, harder, colder, and less forgiving. The promo doesn't glamorize this world. It exposes how empty power feels when it's built on constant fear. There is no peace, only brief pauses between conflicts. Season 5 presents the streets as a test that never ends, where every decision adds pressure and every mistake leaves scars. In this environment, survival isn't about strength alone. It's about knowing when to move, when to hide, and when to accept that the streets will always demand more than they give back. Season 5 uses symbols and quiet moments to say more than loud action ever could. The promo leans heavily into darkness. Not just in lighting, but in meaning. Darkness represents uncertainty, fear, and the loss of clear direction. Characters are often shown alone, even when others are nearby, which reflects how isolated they have become inside their own choices. Space between people matters. When characters stand far apart in a frame, it signals emotional distance, broken trust, and unspoken tension. Season 5 relies on these visual hints to show that connection is fading, even among those who once stood together. Fire appears as another strong symbol throughout the promo. It represents destruction, but also transformation. Fire doesn't ask permission, it spreads, consumes, and leaves permanent marks. This mirrors how violence and power move through the characters' lives. Once something is burned, it can't return to what it was before. Season 5 uses this idea to show that certain choices cannot be undone, even when characters try to fix their mistakes. The damage remains. Fire becomes a reminder that survival often requires burning bridges, relationships, and parts of yourself. Mirrors and reflections also play an important role in the tone of the season. The promo hints at characters facing versions of themselves they no longer recognize. Reflection suggests self-awareness, but also denial. People see who they are becoming, yet still struggle to accept it. Season 5 shows this inner conflict without long speeches, a look held too long, a pause before action, a moment of hesitation that quickly disappears. These small details show how characters are slowly losing the fight between who they were and who they need to be to survive. Isolation is one of the most powerful themes driving this season forward. Even characters surrounded by power and protection appear emotionally alone. The promo avoids showing comfort or safety. Instead, it focuses on silence, stillness, and moments where no one speaks because the truth is too heavy. Season 5 uses these symbols to make one thing clear. Power separates people. The higher someone rises, the fewer people they can trust. In the end, the promo suggests that the most dangerous part of this world is not the violence itself, but what it turns people into when no one is left to truly see them. Season 5 is not just another chapter in the story of crime and survival. It is the moment where the meaning of everything finally becomes clear. The promo frames this season as a turning point where characters stop asking what they want and start facing what they have create. Every action from the past now carries weight, and nothing feels accidental anymore. This season is about ownership. Owning choices, owning damage, and owning the future that those choices have locked into place. There is no space left for denial. And the story makes sure the characters feel that pressure at every step. At the center of this shift is Kanan, who is no longer shaped by events, but shaping them himself. The promo suggests that he has crossed a mental line that cannot be undone. He is not driven by anger or confusion anymore, but by clarity. That clarity is dangerous because it removes doubt. Season 5 shows Kanan understanding the cost of the life he lives and choosing it anyway. This is the season where his identity becomes fully formed, not as a victim of his environment, but as a product of his decisions. The story makes it clear that this is the bridge between the boy we met and the man we already know he will become. Legacy becomes one of the strongest forces pushing the story forward. Characters are no longer thinking about tomorrow, but about what they leave behind. The promo hints that every move is about influence, memory, and survival beyond the present moment. For some, legacy means control. For others, it means escape. But Season 5 shows that legacy is never clean. It carries blood, regret, and unfinished business. The choices made now will shape lives long after the current power struggles end. Whether the characters live to see it or not, Season 5 also confronts the idea of freedom and whether it is even possible in this world. The promo suggests that power promises freedom but delivers chains. Characters chase control, believing it will give them peace, only to realize it demands constant sacrifice. This season is about that realization hitting hard. There are no easy victories, no clear heroes, and no clean endings waiting. What exists instead is a path that leads forward whether the characters are ready or not. Season 5 doesn't ask who will win, it asks who will survive long enough to understand what winning really costs. Season 5 moves toward its ending with a heavy sense of inevitability, as if every road now leads to the same dark place. The promo carries the feeling that the story has already been written by the choices made long ago, and all that remains is watching it unfold. There is no rush, no panic, just a quiet pull toward consequences that can no longer be avoided. This season treats the ending not as a sudden event, but as something slowly closing.